Ready? I'd call to order Monday, May 2nd, 2022. Approval of the agenda. Council Nober.
That the May 2nd, 2022 council meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
Seconder. Council Merjinski. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of the minutes for April 19th, 2022, regular meeting, council meeting minutes. Recommendation. Council Nober.
That the April 19th, 2022 regular council meeting minutes be approved as presented.
Seconder. Councilor Majinski, any errors or omissions? Staff? Okay, all in favor? Carried. 3.2, April 25th, 2022 special budget council meeting minutes. Recommendation, Councilor Lehman.
That the April 25th, 2022 special budget council meeting minutes be approved as presented.
Seconder, Councilor Milbury. Any errors or omissions? Staff? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Business arising from the minutes? Staff?
None from our side.
Okay. Under delegations, Santa Rose Bond Griddle, Jaron Neufeld of Santa Rose Bond Griddle LLP via Zoom to present to council on the 2021 Auditors Report. Welcome, Jaron.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate you guys making time on the agenda to have me present. So, as mentioned, my name is Jaron Neufeld, and I'm from Santa Rose Bone Grindle, and I'm the audit partner of your guys' engagement. I believe you guys have a set of the draft financial statements in front of you already, and if you turn to page 2 of those, you'll see our independent auditor's report. It is addressed to the mayor and council of the District of Tumbler Ridge, and it states that we've audited the financial statements of the District of Tumbler Ridge, which comprise of the statement of financial position as at December 31st, 2021, and the statement of operations and accumulated surplus, changes in net financial assets, and cash flows for the year then ended, and notes to the consolidated financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the company's consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the district as at December 31st, 2021, and the results of its operations and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the consolidated financial statements in accordance with public sector accounting standards and for such internal control as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. As auditors, our objective is to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the consolidated financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinion. As part of an audit performed in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We also identify and assess the risk of the material misstatement of the consolidated financial statements. We obtain an understanding of the internal controls relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures. We evaluate the appropriateness of the accounting policies used and the reasonableness of the accounting estimates and related disclosures made by management. We conclude on the appropriateness of management's use of the going concern basis, and we evaluate the overall presentation, structure, and content of the consolidated financial statements. Finally, we communicate with those charged with governance, which are you individuals, regarding, among other matters, the planned scope and timing of the audit, and any significant audit findings, which may include any significant deficiencies in internal controls that we've identified during our audit. So, in other words, it is another clean auditor's report again this year. Nothing to identify that would be outside of the scope of public sector accounting standards there. So, any questions?
Any questions from council? Okay, no questions from council? All right, well, thank you very much, Jaron.
Oh, thank you guys very much, and thanks to Lisa and Jen and the rest of the team that are out there. They work really hard to ensure that you guys are prepared and ready for when we show up, as well as assistance after the field work ends to ensure that we're able to get the loose ends tied up. So very much appreciated for all their hard work as well. So thanks so much, guys.
Staff said title, so I'm sure they thank you for that.
Thanks, guys. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Moving on to 6.2, delegation by Ms. Ellen Sager, Sunflowers for Ukraine. The seller to present to council requesting the district plant sunflower seeds in the district flower beds in support of Ukraine. Sager, welcome.
Thank you.
Floor is yours.
Good evening. I am here just to ask the district if they would plant some sunflowers. It could be actually, you could get the plants as well, or sunflower seeds. These seeds came from Home Hardware here. They have lots of them as well. But anyway, just as a support, what I have been doing, I'm working with the library and I'm funding it, so don't worry about the taxpayer here. So I've ordered 3,000 seeds that were supposed to come Friday, but they weren't here today. And they've been on order for 5 weeks, so we're working on it. And we're going to put 5 in each envelope. So we'll have 600 envelopes. There are about 430 students in the schools, and then there'll be about 150 left for seniors or whoever around town. The library is just supporting me in labeling and trying to help me with the distribution. So even if we get only about 1,000, which would be a third, it would be pretty nice. And it'd be nice if the town had some sunflowers, that they look nice anyway. I hope you know, but maybe you didn't, that the sunflower is the Ukrainian flower. So that's why I picked sunflowers. Now with you, I have a scarf. I only had 4 done already. So this is a scarf. You can wear it. You can give it to somebody to wear. You can hang it on your doorknob, whatever. Just when you look at it, you think, we're lucky we're in a free country, and just to support. So that's just my request. If you could do that, that would be great.
Okay. Well, before I go to the question, I just want to thank you for the presentation, but also thank you for the scarf and the seeds that you've given to every councillor. So thank you for that.
Okay.
Questions? Councillor Norberg.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Again, thank you, Ellen, for the scarf. And I already put my seeds in my pocket as I'm going to try and get them up in the yard. I think great. So I guess we don't really make decisions in front of delegations as they come. But, you know, I know we've spoken about this before. And I think it'd be great if we had some flowers around the community that reflected, you know, what's going on in Ukraine, yellow and blue, right? Maybe we can do sunflowers and blue flowers right up next to them, you know, a row somewhere, or even just like a row somewhere in town to celebrate it. So I think it's a great idea to show our support.
Yeah, I don't disagree with Councilor Norberg. I just know the district put their flower order in and believe in January. So I understand we get the seeds. So I guess just from staff side, again, we don't make those decisions in front of the thing, but you know, I think staff catches that and maybe they can talk to the lady that's in charge of our flower beds and see if there's something we can do. And if staff feels that's something that can be done, maybe they can reach out to you or maybe pick a location in the community. And maybe they still have time to be able to order some sunflower plants instead of starting them from seeds, maybe. So, but I definitely think we should definitely try from our side. And I see the staff nodding over there, so I think they'll carry this forward and just see if there's something they can do. I don't want to make promises.
Right.
You know, I think it's a great initiative that you've brought forward, and I think they'll try their best to get something duplicated somewhere within our community, hopefully in a very well traveled location. Anything from other council? All right, well, thank you very much, and again, thank you for the scarves and seeds.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ellen.
All right, new business, 9.1, 2021 audited financial statements. Following the presentation by Senator Rose Von Grindle, a formal resolution of council is required to approve the 2021 audited financial statements. Recommendation? Councillor Majinski?
The council approves the 2021 audited financial statements.
Seconder? Councillor Norberg? Discussion? Okay. All in favor? Carried. 9.2, operating and capital reserve update. A report from the Director of Finance dated May 2nd, 2022 to provide an update to council on the district reserves and surplus balances at the at year end, and to provide details of the reserve management fund policy and bylaws associated with the established reserves. So I'll move this report for discussion. Seconder, Councilor Norberry. Any discussion? All in favor? Ms. Torval, maybe we could have an update from staff?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll ask the secretary to provide an update.
Mayor and Council, I wanted to put this report on here. I thought it was good timing. Obviously, we just had the financial statements approved, but just for me to take a look at the reserves and see where we're at and compare them from the year before. Also, to sort of take a look at where we kind of set our reserves. So I've mentioned in here, I wanted to bring it to Mayor and Council's attention that we do have 3.5 million for stabilisation reserve, which if Mayor and Council wanted me to do anything with that, because in budget I have set a percentage in there. So I really wanted that to be done this evening, because obviously I'm in the middle of doing the tax rate report for next week. So yeah, I kind of wanted to bring that to your attention. But it was more just a review of, where we're at. So obviously our reserves, they do look healthy, but we do have to think about the future and the things that might need replacing. And then really, I think we do this year need to work towards the asset management and knowing what we need for the district. So I think we have put some good reserves away annually. But I do think it's something that we should bring that back to look at if we feel those bylaws are adequate for our needs.
Good. Any questions from council? Okay. So I see in one of your comments there, it's about the third bullet that staff would recommend a full review of all reserves related bylaws completed in 2022. Is that a motion that is needed from council? Or is that something that staff is just doing? Ms. Torval?
I think that would be something that should be in staff's plan for the year, to look at those reserves in more detail, not wait for it to happen, obviously, when you're coming near to budget.
Okay.
It's up to council if they decide to put a motion.
Or are you just planning, Ms. Torval, is staff just planning to add that to their work plans?
Yes.
And no motion is needed?
No motions.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any questions from council? Councillor Howe?
I just had can you hear me there?
Yeah.
Just had a question there on the bylaw to establish a land sale reserve policy. It is on page 50, I think it is. Yeah, 50. And what I read in here doesn't quite make sense for a land sale reserve. It says that expenditures for in respect of new capital projects, land, machinery, materials, or equipment, including the extension or renewal of existing capital projects. It appears that this was established when they were selling a lot of land back in the late 80s. And the idea of it was to utilize it for more than just repurchasing land. That likely needs to be updated, am I not correct? Because we already have reserves for machinery and materials and equipment, and it isn't really required in the land sale reserve fund. Is that right?
Yeah, so on page 44, there's a talk, just under number 2, so partway down the page, the staff are recommending that a full review of all reserve-related bylaws is completed. So that's the same thing they're talking about, is looking at all those bylaws that were initiated in the 80s. But let's confirm it with staff. Ms. Torval?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, so they're going to be looking at all those ones, Councillor Howe.
Okay, fair enough. That's probably why.
Okay. Any more questions from council? Councillor Norberry?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I don't know if it's so much of a question, but a discussion topic, and I see that we're just putting 5% of everything we get, we're throwing it into reserves. Didn't we have a discussion on setting amounts due to asset management? Like, I thought we were a little more targeted with this. Like, I thought we decided we're going to put like 80%, we're going to save for 80% of like our land and our sewers and our roads. And I'm surprised we don't see that policy here. Is that something that just we haven't finished on our asset management project plan, or yeah?
Ms. Torval?
Ms. Taggarty?
Mayor and Council to Council Norbury, I think you're correct. I think obviously we have put money away, so I don't think there's an official policy, I'll say, but I think there needs to be, and from what I understand, we do have an asset management system in place here at the district. However, we were looking at changing that, and that's something that staff have been working on. So I was hoping to have some more details on that, but I currently don't have the staff here to discuss on that subject.
So we're gonna be seeing more information come back when you have this added? Okay. Mayor Bertrand?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Just didn't see his hand.
Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Thank you. In reading over the bylaws and the policies, I definitely think we need to bring all of that to a P&P and really work through what's relevant, what's not relevant. I noticed in some of the policies, for example, it says at the beginning of the policy, the council will not borrow, but then in the middle of the policy, it says on special occasions, council may borrow. It's just so open to interpretation in many ways. I think a lot of it needs to be reviewed and updated. And also, policies state that 5% will be going into, or at least 5% will be going into reserves. I don't think we have a strict policy that knocks 5% off of total revenue and puts it into our reserve accounts. I think it's open to interpretation, whatever surplus at the end of the year. I don't think we have a structure in place to contribute to these reserves. Our asset management policy and practice is within 3 years old, so it's still fairly new. And, but our reserves and our stabilization reserves are quite established and quite old, but we haven't really been contributing religiously to it. Like our land transfer reserve, I can't say for sure that every lot that has been sold in Tumble Ridge in the last 10 years has gone into that reserve. I can't say that for sure. So I think all of our reserves and our contributing to them need to be reviewed in order to really plan for the future expenditures that are coming.
Totally agree. Not to put staff to a point or a date, but do we, from staff side, do we know when this could be coming back, if it's added to the work plan? Like, is it a 6-month project, do we think? I'm just so council has some kind of a idea when we'll see some of this stuff come back in front of us, and not saying that, I'm not trying to put a timeline to staff, but just an idea.
Just thank you, Mayor, and through the council. I'm pretty sure we're going to be bringing those back, as Mayor Bertrand had recommended, bringing them back to a PPC. I would suggest that we wait until we're done the budgeting process, get all that stuff done, get our financial plan, get everything approved, sent off to the ministry, and clean up our loose ends from that. And then at that time, I possibly see us bringing these bylaws and policies back to PPC to begin discussion probably in July or August.
And just again, do we need a motion to have that brought forward to a PPC, just so we don't lose it? Just from staff side?
Yeah, for sure. If you would like to make a motion, if you feel comfortable to make a motion to bring it back so that we have it on our action list, then yes, go ahead and do it, but it works.
Okay, Councillor Howe?
Yeah, what is the process for, like the mayor was talking about there? What is the actual process for the money to go into reserves? How is that done by staff?
Ms. Torval?
Ms. Taggarty?
So Mayor and Council, it normally happens at budget time. Well, you're normally looking back at the information you have from prior, and for me, for this budget, I set it the same because there's a lot of work for me to look. There's a lot of looking back for me. I wasn't comfortable with putting less in reserves because I feel that we should be putting in more, but I think we're kind of missing the asset management one. I think we're missing not moving forward with that, to be honest. Once we do that, I'll feel more comfortable with bringing back these reserves and saying to council, this is where I think, and seeing if council, mayor and council are agreeable.
That answer your question, Councillor Howe?
Yeah, I kind of understand where she's coming with. I remember something a little while ago as well about why I talked about the mayor was talking about have we for every land sale has gone into that account. It's a similar function for the cemetery as well. So any plot that is sold in the cemetery is supposed to go into a reserve so that there's money there for maintenance, and that's a provincial thing as well. That has to be provincially mandated. So this is going to be a lot of work for staff to look at all these things to make sure we're doing them correctly and holding on to them. But I was always under the impression reserves were taken out right at the beginning of budgeting, the DTR pulls in 16 million, we set aside 1 million, whatever the number ends up being for reserves, and then your budget starts. That's the way I understood that it worked, and that's what I was looking for.
Ms. Torval?
Mayor and council, maybe I confused you, Councillor Howe, but yes, it is part of the budget, so I will have taken that into account first. So yeah, I haven't got the figure on me right now, but we do allocate quite a chunk to reserves every year, and these are reserves that council obviously set as per bylaw. So yeah, we take that out of budget first, and then we look at our operations.
Mayor Bertrand?
Thank you, Deputy. Question to staff and our CFO. Can you please explain how the district runs throughout the year on a surplus basis? And I'm confused about the stabilization reserve because it appears in the policy that this is the account that the district uses throughout the year until our revenues are collected in the middle of the year. So by saying the policy should only be at 5%, that's drastic. That's a third less than what's in the account at the moment. And so like I was explaining a while ago how the district runs throughout the year on surplus until revenue is collected. So can the CFO please explain that process, please?
Ms. Torval?
So Mayor and Council, we will run on surplus. Obviously, we don't collect our taxes until mid-year, so we'll have money in the bank account, which will be essentially our surplus, which we will use to pay our bills, and obviously work our operations. And then when the money comes in, obviously, like for instance, the PRA grant came in last week, so that money then comes into the account. So that will assist in the cash flow. But yes, you're correct. I have to keep the surplus money there, so I've got some money in the bank account as much as I can. And obviously the reserves are locked down so that we get the best bang for our buck. But yeah, the surplus is basically what we kind of operate on at the beginning of the year.
Mayor Bertrand?
Just a follow-up. So do you feel that 5% or the policy that states 5% is adequate in that account to continue operations, or the way it is at the moment of $3.5 million? There is suggestion that we could transfer from that reserve, but I'm afraid of taking from that reserve if staff need that for operations throughout the years.
Ms. Torval?
So Mayor and Council, I think I am quite comfortable that that reserve is being set at a good place. I'd rather not take from it at the moment until we have a bigger picture.
That's your question, Mayor Bertrand? Go ahead, Mayor Bertrand. He doesn't need it. Councilor Kirby.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So then, just on that topic, would staff be recommending that we do pull the 635 from the stabilization fund out of the budget this year? Is that what you're asking council to decide on tonight?
To Mayor and Council, it was more if council are comfortable with that, because I am comfortable with that, with the figure that's in there, but if you wanted me to pull it so that I minimise tax increase, then I just wanted to have that there for you.
Follow up?
I guess the follow-up would be that if staff, it's just a question to council, would that be beneficial for tax season this year if we move that money and then back to our CFO, what are we doing with that money then? Where does it go? Or that was just something to put in there and then we just leave this in general operations, or?
Yes, Mayor and Council, so essentially, because what we have this year, I mean, it's unfair to you because you don't have the tax base report in front of you, so I apologise.
Yeah.
But this year, I haven't proposed a tax increase, but there are tax increases related to assessments in Tumbler Ridge, so I could use that to minimise that increase. And I think it will become more clear when I bring that to the report on Monday.
So there's something maybe to hold off until have that discussion on Monday in regards, okay. Councilor Norberg.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. That makes sense, and it seems what the tax stabilization reserve fund is for, so that our residents can know this is how much, well, unless we make changes, this is how much we're going to pay every year, and this will help reduce that fluctuation of up, down, up, down, up, down due to whatever expenditures. So, yeah, makes perfect sense. We'll talk about it next week.
Okay, any more questions from council? Does anybody want to put a motion forward to move this, the policies and bylaws to a P&P? Councilor Norberg? Oh, Mayor Bertrand? Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we ask staff to put the operating and capital reserves update forward to the next P&P, available to discuss and review.
Okay, seconder?
Or you won't
Go.
be the next PPC.
No, I think it's the next one that's available. Yeah, I think, I think the understanding there is to wait till the budget was done, like you mentioned, just so we don't lose it or staff can come back to it. Yeah, is that correct? Mayor Bertrand, that's correct? Like, it's after the budget season, just so we don't lose track? Okay. Seconder, Councilor Norberg, discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, any more discussion in regards to operating and capital reserves update? Okay. Move on to 9.3, the outcome of RFP Golf Course Food and Beverage Services, 2022 GC01. A report from the Director of Economic Development and Tourism dated May 2nd, 2022 to provide information on the outcome of the golf course RFP. Recommendation. Councilor Norberg.
For discussion?
Okay, seconder. Councilor Kirby. All in favor? Carried. Councilor Norberg.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So the reason why I asked for a discussion, firstly, is there's a second recommendation that we endorse the fees and charges bylaw to be amended, but we don't know how we're amending that or to what. Is that recommendation just for us to get information back to us to start the wheels rolling? Yeah.
Yep. Ms. Torval.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a little bit of an overview of this report tonight. As you know, we released an RFP earlier this year for the food and beverage services at the golf course restaurant to lease that space. And we didn't receive any submissions whatsoever. So the departments, Economic Development Department and the Community Services Department have been putting their heads together and working to come up with some sort of solutions to be able to provide some food services, beverage services at the golf course. Some of their suggestions are the menu boards, which are the big things with the QR codes on them. However, should there be events wanting to be held at the golf course restaurant, this is where the fees and charges bylaw would need to be amended if council was okay with leasing up space for events to happen. And as it is, we don't have lease rates set for the golf course building for that facility at this time. So if council chose to go that way, then we would need to amend the fees and charges bylaw.
Councilor,
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And from my perspective, that seems to make sense. I mean, maybe people want to have a wedding reception in the restaurant or what have you. So, I mean, if it's closed, try and get some sort of revenue coming in, I think it makes sense. So I'd be happy to make that recommendation.
just want to see if there's any more discussions. You put it on discussion, Councilor Lehman.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I was wondering if you do rent it out for weddings or any other function, what happens, do they get the kitchen and then how does it work are they able to provide food? Because unless they're certified by Northern Health, then I don't know how that's going to work unless, I don't know, I'm just wondering how that's going to work out with, trying to prepare food.
Yeah, I think there's some discussion in the back of it about having summer students doing the cooking burgers and stuff like that if somebody was to rent it, but back to staff, Ms. Torval. Councilor Howell's next.
Depend on the event. I'm going to ask Ms. Fettigan if she could provide some insight as well.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Council. So there would be two options with using that space. One of it would be if an outside company was brought in by a private group to cater, their food licenses would have to be in order, and that would be dependent on us getting Northern Health a permit to use the restaurant just for food coming in, not necessarily food being prepared there. The second part would be potentially for a golf event where the summer students could do an outdoor barbecue and provide food on the premises, again subject to a Northern Health permit. So both of those scenarios will be subject on applicable insurances and permits being in place.
Okay. I got Councilor Howell, or did you have a follow-up, sir?
No, I'll wait.
Okay, sorry about that. I got Councilor Howell and then Councilor Kirby. Councilor Howell?
I don't know how crazy I am about leasing the restaurant or the golf course dining area out, to groups for a weekend for a wedding or whatnot. I have a lot of concern there that that's a lot of staff time. It's a lot of work to put on our staff to try to do this as a new thing. And generally, when new things happen, they take a lot more time and effort, and is where you run into a lot of the problems. I would prefer that we, again, go the route that we did last year, where we asked for any type of proposal from any business in the community to come forward with an idea for how they would maybe run food services at the golf course. And that could include leasing the restaurant or not leasing the restaurant, or utilizing it or not utilizing it. It could be so easy as like a food vendor setting up in the parking lot and plugging into the building and running the beverage cart around. Or it could be, somebody, having pizzas down there on Fridays or Saturdays or something, whatever their proposal is. We did this last year. I know we didn't, I don't think we had anybody come back that was successful with it. But to me, I think it's worth the shot to put it out there again. I think the hindrance for people right now to take a stab at this thing is the lease on the golf course for 6 months. They have that concern, with COVID, and is it gonna come back the way that it was, and what are the costs on the building and whatnot. So, I would this way it opens it up to everybody or anybody who's got an idea of how they could do it. This opens it up to local restaurants that are already in town if they want to prepare the food at their own place and then bring it down, or to somebody who just wants to run a hot dog stand out of there. It just gives us another option before we're looking at hiring people and having summer students and whatnot. That's a lot of work to put on summer students, and especially for the training that's involved in it. You're not going to train somebody to do something like that in a short amount of time and get any return or revenue back out of it unless that place is rented and utilized all the time. So to me, I'd be more in favor of putting something out like we did last year.
Back to staff, Ms. Torval.
Thank you, Ms. Finnegan would like to.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council. So, to Councillor Howe's point, when we came up with some of these options, we went through a lot of the pros and cons of all of those suggestions. Taking the menu board options out to businesses, we re-established that there is limited capacity and resources in the community to do the restaurant even on a short-term or ad hoc basis, which is why the menu board has become the solution for businesses to increase their capacity by staying in their primary location rather than splitting up their resources into a secondary location. So we feel, and again reiterated by the businesses I've spoken to, that the menu board is the best solution for them and at the peak of their capacity. In terms of renting out the space and training, the fees and charges would offset any costs to staffing, and that's where the fees and charges might vary depending on each event, depending on how much staff we might need there, what's involved, and it would always be not a given that the event could take place. It would be based on what is feasible and viable at that particular time.
Okay, follow up, Councillor Howe.
So that's for existing business that she's talking about. What if it's not an existing business? What if it's somebody who looks at it and says, I don't want to take the lease on, but if there's an opportunity to start a business, which businesses have started down there, again, it opens the playing field to anyone, not just existing businesses, but somebody who may be looking to start and want to take this on. And that's my thought process on it. Again, it opens it up to the businesses in town to say, okay, well, we don't have to go down there and take on the entire lease. We could literally do pizza nights on Friday nights. We could do burger nights on Friday nights or Saturdays or whatever they wanted. To me, I'm fearful of staff capacity during the summer and taking on something new this late in the game. I'd rather a private enterprise take it on for us. We know how much we've had problems with the appliances and stuff down there, and the barbecue getting set up, and in the beginning it's quite a process. So I just can't see how we could do it for short term. Somebody renting it for a weekend.
Okay, thank you. I got Councillor Kirby and then Councillor Calkin. Councillor Kirby.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Howe hit on a couple of topics I was going to bring up. First question is the kitchen ready to go if someone wanted to come in and take it over? Is it working, functional?
Ms. Torval. Well, I can answer some of it, but I haven't been in there.
Yeah, I think at this stage, the fact, Deputy Mayor and Council, the kitchen is not 100% set to go. It's been laying dormant there for 2 years. We're doing an inventory of the appliances and what's actually there. So I think if somebody had to come in even at this late stage and say that they wanted the kitchen for 6 months, it would be a real scramble to get it ready. So, and I think some of the solutions we've talked about is for the use of the space, not the use of the kitchen. So renting out the space and having food brought in gives us this season to actually tidy it up and do a proper inventory of what we actually need for next season to allow a business to come in and make a profitable go at it. So we feel this is our sort of a Band-Aid solution to the you know, the gap we've had in the last 2 years of the kitchen not being used, businesses not being at capacity, and we feel it will give us a breathing space to get that facility back up to speed.
Okay, follow up, Councillor Crito?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. That's the issue right there. That's why nobody's coming into a lease. Like, no business wants to step in if they are coming in and having to wait to get a kitchen up and running, or if it's not running. And I think if we want to, you know, have the golf course function like we want it to, because that's one of our greatest assets, really. And it could be like summer and winter destination, and we have to have a functioning kitchen. Otherwise, the leases that we have in place aren't even worth looking at. So it's too bad. We're not ready for it this year. We could have been doing all the fixing up all through COVID, I guess, or if we would have thought ahead to have it ready for this year. But I hope that we have it ready for next year, and then maybe work out a lease where, you know, a business could come in and succeed. We don't want people taking on a business and not being able to make profit on it. And it's sure not profitable for us right now, sitting empty. So I think the option for this year of the boards is probably great, because it's gonna, you know, for the tourists coming in, it's gonna at least give them some options. And if I know in years past, even when you're on the 8th hole, sometimes people are looking at that, you know, would be phoning up to our restaurant saying what they want. So that's maybe just another option, is to have a smaller pamphlet in where you're picking up your scorecards, is just to have that. So if somebody is going to come off the course, they can order the food. And then if, I don't know if we're still going to have tables set out on the decks to use, but then it could be ready, delivered then when they're coming up 9. I don't know. But for this year, I think this is a good option.
Councillor Kalkin and Councillor Majinski. So my thoughts are a couple. I actually kind of agree with Councillor Howe. When I hear back from staff saying we're unsure what situation the kitchen's in, I understand that. But if we hear from the other side, from staff stating that we can throw some summer students down there to do a barbecue and everything else, I think that equipment's in the same scenario. Like, there's still some repairs or whatever. So to me, if it's something that goes out for 2 weeks and it doesn't get a hit, or 3 weeks and it doesn't get a hit, then obviously there's another alternative. Just my philosophy on there. I mean, if they want to run a beer cart or whatever, then we're not having staff run a beer cart all summer long as well, paying those wages and extra staff down at the golf course. But I think that's a discussion council should have. I'd just be questioning back to staff, and I mean, you may not have the answer for this, and that's fine. When we talk about we're unsure about the kitchen, we're unsure about the assets that are down at the golf course, are we not doing checks at a certain time, whether it's monthly or quarterly down at the golf course?
Yes, Mayor and Council, yes, there are inspections being conducted down there. We just haven't had
Good.
communication with staff to get the outcomes of those inspections.
And again, I'm not putting, and I understand it, and it's not something to go and get, like, I totally understand, but to me, when we put it on an RFP, we should have had that information, and maybe we do, it's just not in front of us tonight. Like, again, not blame the staff, like, that's not a thing. Maybe it's with whoever is overseeing the golf course before staff has been moved. So maybe it's just somewhere on somebody's desk, but I would think if they're doing them, staff would have been able to get it. But yeah, I kind of agree with Councillor Howe. I don't think it hurts to send it back out, see if somebody else comes in with another option. Whether I mean, and I don't want to mention names, but whether it's a food vendor that goes out there and again plugs into the building and is willing to run a beer cart. You know, maybe they don't want to take over our restaurant, but they want to do that part of it, and willing to pay a bit of money to the district. I mean, I understand the idea of the menu board and hoping people will deliver it to you, or you can go pick it up. Stuff like that, I totally understand, and I think it was a great option. I think great work by staff. So definitely not knocking the idea staff has brought forward. Definitely not doing that. So, Councillor Majinski and then Councillor Milbury.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. If we do go into discussions about the menu board, I will step out.
Yes.
Because I would be potentially infringing on that. But I would also like to just note that when this RP went out, I had talked to the CAO about a month and a half, 2 months ago about this, and asked if there was any hits coming in on this, and there wasn't. So I had a suggestion to reach out, because since we already put this RFP out to the community, to the local vendors here, why not look into Dawson Creek or Fort St. John? I know it's been tough for a lot of the businesses in our community, and why would they want to reach out and expand their current restaurant or establishment into another one and make a go at it in another venue? So why not look at the Northern Lights College? They have a professional cook training program there. You could have graduates come in and they could do a training program as a co-op in our restaurant. And I had brought that up. I just don't know if staff gotten that message, so I did bring it forward and see if there was any interest with the Northern Lights College and have a partnership there. Just another option other than just relying on our residents here to start up a business in these uncertain times, where we could utilize a school system to do that. And the other question I have towards staff, if I may, Acting Mayor, is the liquor license. If we have one, is it for the establishment as well as beer cart, or are they two separate ones? And if we did have, say, a vendor that wanted to do the golf cart to go around and do the liquor license and sell alcohol, do they have to have their own certificate for that? How does that all work?
Yeah, they sign under the liquor's license. So the liquor license, I mean, I'll go back to staff, but the liquor license are owned by the District of Tumber Ridge. And when they get an operator in there, they have them as the operator. But I just confirm with staff, but I'll go back to staff. But that's how normally the owner has, the building owner would have the liquor license, and then you put those people on there as the license holder. Ms. Turner?
Yes, thank you. Regarding the liquor licenses for the golf course, the restaurant liquor license, that one was in dormancy for 2 years, and because it wasn't used, it's been canceled, expired out. And so I'm in the process of reapplying for a new license, and I'm really unsure at this point. I know it's still under review, but because there isn't a restaurant there and we won't be using it, I really can't say that we will get approved for it again. But in the meantime, there is the beverage cart liquor license. And if someone were to want to operate under that license, they would need to apply to the LRCB board, Liquor License Cannabis Board, and go through all the steps. So it could be a bit of a lengthy process for them as well.
So we don't normally just add the operator to it?
No.
We have in the past though.
Pardon?
We have in the past though, correct? The liquor license have always been owned by the District of Tumber Ridge.
That's right.
And then you used to add the operator on as a list, the liquor license holdee.
The operator would be included as a third-party operator under the district license, but the third party would still have to do the application through the license board. Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like yeah, it's a shorter thing. So just one comment there on your, like I read through the RFP, we actually state the hours of operation. We state how many days they have to be open for. And I think that's why I agree with Councillor Howell when we throw it out. Maybe somebody comes back and says, they want to do ladies' night, men's night, weekends only, and not open at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, I don't know, but I just think it's another option where we take it. And again, I'm not saying take it out of staff hands, we're putting staff down there. Just a thought, right? Councillor Imogen's going to follow.
And just a follow up on that, like, I don't want to create more work, but maybe this should go back out to RFP until the opening of the golf course season. Have this RFP extended out longer. I know it because it kind of was short, but, and it's a bit of a, but then since we gave the first crack at the community, we can reach out to know other communities, because it is a big loss if we don't have that for the season, even if it is, Mondays, Wednesdays, and weekends, right?
The RFP, honestly, is not just for our community when they go out. They're for anybody that sees it on, whether it's our websites or whatever. Somebody from Vancouver could have looked at the RFP and decided to move to Tumber Ridge. Or come up to Tumber Ridge and run a restaurant for the summer. But, Councillor Norbury, then Councillor Howe.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm in agreement, I think, with everyone that, people that have spoken to re-put out that RFP. But I mean, it does make sense to do also get into our back pocket in case we don't have anybody respond to be available to rent out the space. And like we can just have a caveat saying don't use the kitchen, right? Like when I had my wedding in just outside of Kamloops, the venue that we rented was like a ski lodge, and we weren't allowed to use the kitchen. That was it. We brought in a private caterer. We got to use the space only. And I think staff is saying that there's not a lot of staff time involved in there. Book the day, and it's $500 in the district's pocket, right, to offset that loss of revenue. Only if we don't get a response on the RFP. But it seems like a pretty simple utilization of space because, I mean, the years past we've had people try to get into the curling rink, right? So I think it's an option.
Good, thank you. Okay, I got Councillor Howell and then Mayor Bertrand. Councillor Howell?
Yeah, I want to put a motion on the floor that we ask staff to put out alternate recommendations for the golf course.
Staff need more information on that motion. We kind of have more information. Councillor Hoff, you're going to put the motion out there.
So I don't have a motion written up, but I'm trying to keep it open as possible, that if somebody wanted to come in and do a lease, great. If somebody wanted to come in and put like the burger bus in front, great. If somebody wanted to sell sandwiches just to the DTR downstairs at our grab and go place, they get the contract to do that stuff. That's what I'm looking to do. So like alternate ideas is what I'm trying to push forward here. And again, it doesn't have to be anything to do with the clubhouse or the restaurant. It might be, I want to park my food truck in the front parking lot. Like last year, we had food truck businesses parking down in the parking lot, plugging into the building, and we weren't getting anything for it. There was nothing being utilized by the DTR for that. And I don't even know if that's, do we have to worry about liabilities and stuff like that, or food trucks can go anywhere? I don't know. I just think if we had some type of a motion put together like that, that we could, at least give it a couple weeks, see if there's anybody else out there, or, if any of the vendors in town just want to have, they'll provide the food down there on specific dates. I don't want it to be too structured of a motion. We're looking for any alternate ideas for food and beverage services for the golf course.
Okay, Ms. Torval.
I was just going to reiterate what Councillor Howard just said, food and beverage services,
Okay, so
alternate recommendations for the provision of food and beverage services for the golf course.
can you hear that, Councillor Howe?
I'm sorry, it's a little muffled there.
Ask staff to put out alternate recommendations for the provision of food and beverage services for the golf course.
Sounds good.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Norberry. Discussion. I apologize to Mayor Bertrand and Councillor Kirby. I do have you on my list. So Mayor Bertrand.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. What I'm hearing, it's probably a good thing we didn't get anybody bidding on the operating of the golf course restaurant, because we don't have an operating kitchen and we have let our liquor license expire. So, from testament from another business owner here in town, 4 to 6 months to get a liquor license, that's pretty much the golf season. So I'm kind of curious why that happened, and if I can get clarification. As far as the kitchen goes, do we have any status on it? I don't see any point in putting out an offer to use our building or our kitchen if it's nothing but a hassle to even get it up and running.
Ms. Torval.
With regards to the liquor license being cancelled or expired, it was in dormancy and it wasn't used. And this is the food primary license in the restaurant. I guess they have ways of tracking when liquor license is being used, and it wasn't used because of COVID. The building was shut down for 2 years, right? So, yeah, and we are applying again for a liquor license.
So did you hear the response in regards to the liquor license? Yeah, the thing is they would double track it because you have a number on there. So when you order alcohol, you have to have that number. So, go ahead, Ms.
And further to the liquor license, if we did, when we do get the liquor license, and if we did lease out the space for events, we would have to temporarily suspend our liquor license, and the event holder would need to get a special events license to hold their event. So our liquor license would be irrelevant to an event being put off in there, unless the district, we were putting it off ourselves.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Any follow-up, Mayor Bertrand?
And the kitchen?
Yeah, the kitchen, I think they kind of answered that. There may be some information, maybe just with staff moving around, and maybe somebody has it on their desk in regards to the inventory and the kitchen checks that would be being done at the golf course on I'm assuming they go down monthly, but I could be wrong, but Ms. Torval?
Yes, they do it on a monthly basis.
So I just think we're missing that information and maybe staff didn't realize those questions would come up tonight. So, I don't know, maybe we can get that information forwarded to council. Okay. Council Kirby,
I'm good now, thanks.
sorry for getting so late.
Well, that's all right.
Okay, any more discussion in regards to the motion on the floor? Okay, and if we can just read the motion back for council, please.
Mayor and Council, the motion is that staff put together alternate recommendations for the provision of food and beverage services at the golf course.
Okay, Council Kirby? Councilor.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think I would recommend that we take beverage out, like as far as supplying, like the, our beer cart. I think for this year, I wouldn't mess with that. Just going on what Ms. Torval has said about getting a liquor license in place, I would keep that within the district, and I would just say food services. And I like the idea of vendors and having a rate for a vendor truck to come and be outside. This way, there's no mix-ups with not having a functioning kitchen. Because that should be stated.
Councilor Howell.
Yeah, I just wanted, like, mentioned again, like the mayor said right away, I don't understand why we would rent out a building and a kitchen if it's not even ready. What this motion goes to say is that you don't have to rent out the kitchen or the clubhouse. This could be your own idea of how you want to do it. Beverage services on the golf cart, I agree with what Councilor Kirby says. I don't want to fool around with that. But there's more to beverage services than just a liquor license. But if someone's proposal is to utilize that as well, I'm open to listening to what anybody's idea is. We all know the way to make money at this is to sell the alcohol. And if that's what somebody wants to go down to, is say, I'd like to do the beer cart as well. Number one, it takes an employee off of that cart that we don't have to pay for. And it takes away from somebody having to stock the cooler up and go get the product and all that stuff that we don't need to do anymore. So I'd be open to it. I think we have an alternative backup plan in what Councilor Kirby was referring to. But I just want that clear that the idea of this motion is any idea. We're open to just looking at ideas. And again, it doesn't mean we're going to take the idea just because somebody brings one forward. It's just to look at thoughts that somebody might be able to do something to take a bit of strain off of their staffing issues with DTR.
Okay. Okay, I call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councilor Milbury.
I'd also like to make a motion that council endorses the fees and charges of bylaw to be amended to reflect golf restaurant and premises rental fee.
Okay, seconder, Councilor Kirby. Discussion. Just back to Mr. Earl, that'll come back before council once it's figured out. Okay, thank you.
So there, we will need to do an amendment bylaw to bring it back for council's
Okay,
consideration.
Councilor Howell.
Yeah, so I'm in favor of it the way that Councilor Norbury explained his own wedding, how it worked. Like that seems like a reasonable way for this to work. I'm just concerned about repairs, maintenance, cleaning costs, all that stuff will have to be captured by the DTR to make sure that we have somebody go in, checks everything out, make sure everything works good. Because we have had some major issues with washrooms and floods and other things like that down in the DTR that weren't done, and portions of the building, the siding falling off and the eaves troughs and stuff like that. The building needs to be in good condition when somebody gets it, and we need to make sure we have an adequate list that if something gets wrecked or destroyed, it gets fixed afterwards. And if that's the case, based on what Councilor Norbury said, then I would be in favor of it as well.
Okay. Ms. Torval?
Thank you, council. We could go through this possibly the same way as we would if we were leasing space in a community center or the curling rink or whatever, come up with a service agreement or an operating agreement. with the fees included as well as maintenance cost, any maintenance cost or cleaning, janitorial, et cetera, et cetera. Is that something that council would be
Councilor Norbury?
aware of?
It makes sense to use an already existing mechanism for rentals of space. If we just add on that versus adding a whole new policy, because it's already right there. I mean, staff go in and check it out. And again, yeah, I think Councilor Howe's correct. We need to, like a walkthrough before, walkthrough after, note issues, and us being good landlords, making sure everything, like at least the bathrooms work, right? Yeah, it's reasonable.
No, I agree with you. Okay, any more discussion? Councilor Howe? Leave it up.
Sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor of the recommendation on the floor? Opposed?
In favor.
Carried. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I would like to discuss the signs. Can we talk about that?
May I step up for?
Yep.
Thank you.
So just before we discuss it, I know my business is on here, but I'll be asking for it to be removed. I know I wasn't asked about the concept of this, but I will be asking for mine to be removed off the sign. So that's why I am not excusing myself, because I will not have my business name on there. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thanks to staff. I think this looks great. For hearing that this is a option for other businesses to get more business, I think is great. The only suggestion I would have, and I wanted to make a suggestion, is that we do sometimes have a summer operator with Club 55 Burger. So it's the burger bus. I think it might be useful to see if they have a contact information to be added to the list, or if they have been reached out to, would be my question.
Okay, yeah. Ms. Torval?
I'll ask Ms. Finnegan to speak to that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council. I did have a meeting with the operator from Club 55 prior actually to the RFP going out. Considering she was the last operator that was in there to see or ascertain what kind of interest she would have in coming back into the golf club full time this year. She was unable to commit to that. I've since been in conversations with her about getting a mobile food vendor license, which she has not completed, and her business license was also not renewed. So effectively, she's not operating, to my knowledge, at this stage.
Any more discussion? Mayor Bertrand, then Councilor Howe.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you to staff for coming up with this idea. I think it's a neat idea. I'm thinking about the future. Like, I think this could work temporarily, but if in the future, say next year possibly, a vendor wants to come in and run that operation there, having their competition plastered on the wall is not really beneficial to them. So I'm concerned about the future benefit of this sign proposal. Possibly pamphlets to advertise the businesses in town, absolutely, but I think we should be looking for a temporary fix. And I'm concerned about, I wouldn't be in favor of the district putting out money to build these signs. It's certainly an opportunity for businesses to market themselves, but again, it wouldn't be beneficial in the future if somebody was to rent out that space.
Okay. Councilor Howe.
Yeah, again, to staff, I think it's an interesting idea. I'm glad that they're trying different thoughts to throw towards council, but my thoughts look at if you're a good business owner, you will realize that the clubhouse and the golf course has sponsorship availabilities for the holes. So you can go out and sponsor a hole and put just your business out there at your cost, that you are the hole sponsor for hole number 1 or hole number 9, and put your telephone number on it and whatever you want. As for us doing this for businesses, I don't think that this is the correct use of our taxpayers' dollars, because all it takes is to make a mistake and forget one. I don't like the fact that in the mock-up you have some businesses that are shown as, daytime, nighttime, or lunch, breakfast. They've got a picture there, and some are just an a business name and number, which I understand is just a mock-up. But for me, if you're a keen business owner, go sponsor a hole and get your name down there with a number for takeout or call out when you're leaving the golf course. Do your own creative signs. So that's my take on it. I don't think we should be sinking any money into this.
Thanks. Councillor Noberry and then Councillor Kirkowka. Councillor Noberry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. My thoughts would be this would be a temporary solution, and if we had somebody running the restaurant, we'd take it down because we don't want to add, barriers to them operating. It seems like we're undermining them. But I think this is a great initiative to help out our local businesses. They pay their tax money just as much, not as much, they pay tax dollars too. And I think we all of us, I have no doubt, have said we want to aid businesses the best that we can. I think part of that is assisting businesses that operate currently. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so, I got Councillor Kalka and then Mayor Bertrand. Yeah, so I think it was a great task completed by staff and to bring it forward. I do have concerns that we would not charge the restaurants to advertise on it. I know our visitor guide, we had to buy ads in there if we wanted our business names in there. So again, I think, when you say assisting businesses, I don't think we should be assisting any business in Tunbridge when it comes to financial gains with advertising for them and stuff. I think Councillor Howell makes a good comment that we do have a policy now forward for advertising within the golf course and on the golf course, whether it's tee off or at the greens or flags. I think there's a number of things that people can sponsor. And I think even if this concept the staff's going to go forward with or whatever, same thing. I think there should be a fee attached to it. You want to partake on it, then buy a space. Just like the magazine that we put out for the visitor guide, we all had, some companies bought into it and paid for ads. I think the same thing here, and that's why I said I didn't excuse myself, because I will not be included on this sign. I'm going to say that again. So, I got Mayor Bertrand. Oh, maybe he took his hand down. Okay. Any more discussion in regards to this? So I had one back to staff. It didn't look like we were looking for a recommendation from council in regards to this sign, in regards to the menu board. Unless I missed it?
Sorry, it was provided for information and options and discussion to see where council felt or was at with this. It was just meant, and it was meant to be a temporary fix.
Yeah.
We didn't get any replies from the RFP.
And I think it's great. Like, don't get me wrong. I think what staff has brought forward, so it's not, oh geez, we don't do this and they don't like. I like it. I just think it should be paid advertising. So I think if the RFP that goes back out that nobody comes forward to, I think this is an option that if people want to be on it, that there's a cost to it. A small cost, maybe that's up to council, but again, everything we do seems to, whether it's the whole sponsors or whatever else, all have a cost to it. Our visitor guide had a cost to it. Same concept. And I'd hate to see us miss somebody. I know Councilor Noberry already brought it up. I planned on bringing it up, but we're missing Chevron on here. I understand it's just a draft, and maybe we've already talked to them, but they do sandwiches, baked goods, they have hot food. So I just hate if we do have to go this route to try and help out visitors and stuff, or locals down at the golf course, that we, I don't know, somehow capture everybody. Ms. Storler? Next.
Chevron doesn't do delivery. This was a deliver to the hole or wherever you were on the golf course.
Okay.
Thing. Yeah.
Okay, well, neither does Fresh Mart, so that's good that we're off there. Councilor Noberry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Since we're talking about costs, I do see the financial implications here is $121 per board. Now, how many boards do we think we're gonna need for this proposal?
2. Mentions one at the clubhouse, pro shop and upstairs.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So we're concerning ourselves in taxpayer dollars that we're gonna spend $240. And potentially assist and help our local businesses do better. I think it's a silly thing we're splitting hairs over. Apologize, but
Yeah, and maybe I don't disagree, but it's, again, assisting certain businesses over others. Right? So there's other businesses within the community that don't serve food, dollar store, other ones, that we're assisting some of our local businesses, but not all. Again, to me, if it's paid, if somebody wants to put a motion on the floor, it doesn't even look to me that staff's looking for a motion, and maybe this needs to come back after the RFP goes back out. I'm not sure what council thinks. Councilor Lehman?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I mean, it's, $240 or whatever, between all the businesses, I don't think it's all that much of a strain, and I think the extra business, I think, would be more than welcome. So I think, for them, I would think it's money well spent, as opposed to us buying the boards. Just thought.
Councilor Kirby?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I think businesses would, the cost of it is minimal, and I think a business could easily put money towards this, or it could go through the Chamber of Commerce, taking it out of our hands, and maybe that could be another avenue to go down. But I mean, if already the board is set up and all they have to do is pay, I don't see a problem to getting people to pay into this, because it is great marketing. And I do think it really offers that to the tourists coming in, that we don't have our clubhouse running, that at least they have the option to see and get the food. So we'll let Active go from here on this one.
Okay, any more discussion about it? Councilor Howe?
Yeah, I just, again, we have an advertising policy, and when somebody buys an ad for a hole on the golf course for $500, it actually means a lot and costs a lot, saves us a lot of money in running the golf course. And if you sell out every hole on the place, it adds a lot there. And to me, to go and do this for $120 and mess it up, this is government getting involved where we don't need to be involved. We have a policy in place. If you don't know how to advertise to people that are on the golf course, our economic development officer should respond to those groups and say to them, hey, here's an opportunity for you. Don't forget, you can advertise at the golf course for $500 or whatever the cost is to buy a sign. But to put this type of work on our Dev to do this, and I'm not worried about the cost of it at all. I'm worried about the optics of it, that we put a policy in place for a reason, spent a lot of time to do that, and then we're just gonna throw that out the window and do some signage on the side of the wall. I mean, it doesn't help the rest of the taxpayers, and it certainly doesn't help anybody that has a different style of business in Tumbler Ridge that can't cater to delivery services. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay. Thank you for those, but yeah, the Councilor Hall, I mean, I just mentioned a couple comments there. I mean, I want to thank our active. I mean, this is an idea of the park that she came up with. I mean, I understand she put it forward to council. We've discussed it, debated it. I mean, I don't think it needs to be maybe done differently, and maybe it doesn't. Maybe council as a majority will agree to do it. But I think the same thing is when staff comes forward with their own ideas, realize that we have an issue or a concern that we're not going to be able to fill a restaurant, and they come forward with an idea that may fix the problem. I think you got to pat them on the back. I understand we didn't give the direction, but sometimes that's what staff does. They bring forward great ideas, and then we look at it, and sometimes we make changes or whatever. But I do want to thank staff for going outside the window and finding different things and different ideas. I mean, I never thought of something like this, and I think it's a great job by staff. So, Councilor Bear.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I mean, whether we go to cost recovery or not, I mean, it is what it is. But I think just having this option down there for people, let's think how the whole situation is going to work out. People are going to go out golfing. They're going to want food, and they're going to think, well, what can I eat? We're going to see posts every other day on people at Tumbler Ridge looking for what's good, what's to eat. If it's all right there for them, perfect. It just connects them, and that's removing that barrier of finding out what's out there. Just connect them straight to what they need. They want some food. They want something to drink. However we do it, I just think it's a good idea if we don't have anybody in the building.
And I agree with you. So it's just back to staff again. I don't want to beat it to death, but this will come. This is still on the table. Come forward after the RFP that goes back out and be brought back, maybe. Okay, appreciate it, Councilor Howe.
Yeah, last thing, I just want to be clear there by your comments, Deputy Mayor. I just want to be clear here that I was not knocking staff by no means. We have a new economic development officer in here. She may not be aware that we even sell advertising down the golf course. So that's what I was alluding to. I think it's fantastic when they bring forward new ideas from new places, but I just, for my aspect on it, I think that's the avenue that we should be looking at. So I appreciate the work of staff.
Okay, thanks, Councilor Allen. I apologize if I took it wrong. I just wanted to make sure that we still get great ideas coming back from staff. Okay, no more discussion. If we can get Councillor Majinski back in, please. Hang on a second. Oh, okay.
Were you gonna make a motion for the RFP? Yes. Yes.
There's already said, this is a discussion, we just haven't voted on it yet. We already voted on that? Okay.
Fast, yeah.
Yeah. Story got me lost. Storville, you okay? Everything's okay?
Yeah, if the motion that was put out, to put out alternate recommendations for the provision of food and beverage services, is that the same as an RFP? Or an expression of interest or something?
Expression of interest, yeah.
Yeah. EOI.
So do we need another motion?
No, we can take it from there.
Okay, Councilor Kirby?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just one more topic while we're on the golf course. If we were going to be looking at fixing and getting a report back on the golf course kitchen and doing any fixing to that in the coming year, would that have to be in this year's budget?
Yes. Is there, I mean, we can ask back to staff, have we budgeted anything for the golf course restaurant through the community center? Good call.
So we budgeted just for regular maintenance, and I don't know what all that entails.
Okay.
And
So,
sorry.
No, go ahead, Mr. Orville.
And at this point, like, I don't know how dire the restaurant is, the kitchen, at this point, so.
So does staff need a motion to get an assessment of the golf course restaurant and then bring it back? I mean, we can always do, not that it's great protocol, but unbudgeted funds or pre-approve budget items for the spring of 2023. As long as it's early enough, I mean, where that thing is. Councilor Norbury?
It might be prudent just to go down there and see what's going on first, right? I mean, they said they have maintenance money for people to go down, take a look, turn everything on, see if it works. And like, might be best just to wait and see, make sure everything turns on, and then we go from there, right?
Yeah, and I agree with you, that's why. Gets back to staff, do you need a motion to do the overview, or that's just a general task?
We'll do that as a general task, and we'll bring back our findings.
Okay.
And if there is anything major, well, I say major, but above the norm that needs to be spent money-wise down there, it's no different. We can bring it back throughout the year. It's no different than when we bring other items back for council approval for unbudgeted funds.
Okay. Councilor Kirby?
Yeah, that's good, thank you.
Okay, is there any more discussion in regards to the golf course restaurant? Okay. Schedule of meetings. So we have the special budget meeting was moved to May 9th for next week, and then the PP was moved to the 10th, and then the two added on the 12th and 13th. That? Okay. And just back to staff, we look okay in regards to the budget for that week? Okay. Any notice of motion? Okay. Councilor's business. Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I do have a little bit that I wanted to report on. I've been a part of a discussion regarding childcare in our community through SD 59 and the Society for Children's Needs. I'm trying to come up with ideas and strategies for council. So I went to the Children's Center Society's meeting on last Wednesday, and I got some information at that meeting, I think, which is pretty important to our community, and I think we're at a critical juncture here. In that their executive director is leaving or on leave for an extended period of time. They're going to be posting for that position, and they are changing their care model in that they are removing the 0 to 3 childcare option for our community. So they're just moving into just offering care for children 3 to 5, which does allow them more spaces overall. And in speaking with the board and the executive director, that's where their waiting list is. I mean, I did bring up the point that, you know, we are pretty word of mouth in our community. If there's not a waiting list for 0 to 3, that's because people know not to go on the waiting list. So there's definitely still a need out there. You know, the reasons for the change is, this is coming, I'd like to bring forward this agenda topic at a PPC so we can dig into it. I do have most of this written down for people to sort of come up with, you know, their own thoughts and ideas, but the offering care for children 0 to 3 is very time and labor intense, and it doesn't always meld with the older children, right? Well, I mean, all of us have had children, right? So you have nap times throughout the day, and that doesn't meld well with, you know, the 4, 5, 6-year-olds, right? Because they're loud, it's the same building. So, you know, there's been a lot of turnover rates. So I think we're at a critical juncture here in childcare in our community. You know, I want to think back to what if we had notice before we had nursing shortages. You know, I think there's opportunity for us here, and I think we should get the conversation going. Yeah, thank you.
And I agree with you. Maybe you can supply staff with some information, and they can add it to a PAP maybe in June. And I'm not sure what it looks like for June yet, but Ms. Thorvald?
Sorry, I have the information already. It's been forwarded to me.
Okay.
And it's scheduled on your next PPC.
There you go. May 10th. Councilor Norbert.
And I've been working on this for a while. I've been in discussions with Miss Torval. You know, yeah, because I've been thinking about this for a while. And June's when the changes are happening. Okay. June's when we're losing it. So, you know, I mean, things move slow, but conversation starting earlier is better.
Okay. Any more councilors' business? Mayor Bertrand?
Thank you, Deputy. Just wanted to let everyone know I had a good presentation today with the Development Initiative Trust's Board of Directors presenting the BC Rail analysis done by HDR and the Resource Municipalities Coalition. It seemed to be very well received, and looking at strategizing for next steps and hoping NDIT will help us promote this to the province as well. So, well.
Perfect. Okay, and I have one thing, and I want to thank Councillor Curry for forwarding on an email to the Health Task Force. So we took on we had a discussion. We passed it on to actually Dr. Helm to deal with a visit coming. What is it? Traveling Health Roadshow. So we didn't know the numbers. So it ends up being a total of 14, 3 faculty, thank you, and 11 students. Dr. Holmes already set up stuff with the Geopark, the museum. They're doing a tour through the clinic, Northern Health. And one thing that was mentioned at the meeting was maybe a dinner with council and some staff. And I'm just wondering what council thinks. We do have, Ms. Torval will have a budget already set in regards to the Health Task Force. There's some dollars there, and as long as she sees that it's a benefit in regards to what the task force is for, it can be used for the dinner part. I just wonder what council thinks in regards to that. So, Councilor Norbury?
So these are going to be nursing students that are coming to our town to take a look around. What it is?
Yeah, so it's med students. So our students include 2 physicians, 2 nurses, occupational therapist, a physical therapist, a pharmacist, and a dental hygienist. And a paramedic, it sounds like. And a midwife, sorry. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And the reason why I asked for clarification is, I mean, if this could be that showcasing of our community for potential attraction. Yeah, I think it's absolutely a great idea for us to sit down and have a dinner. I know the last time we hosted a nurse and a doctor in our community, I think it went a long way to show them our dedication to get them to come here and to stay here. So I think it's a great idea for us to set something up like that.
So again, I didn't want to just give direction back to staff to do it, kind of have a discussion with council. So is there anything that council can think, like any other ideas? Like I said, the museum's already been is involved, the Geopark's involved, the health center's already involved in regards to the tour with Northern Health. Is there anything else? I mean, they're coming on Thursday, May 19th, and they're departing Saturday, May 21st. You know, the golf course may open, maybe we can ask staff just to make sure we have passes available in case they want to use our community center or the golf course. Maybe we can, I don't know, maybe make a different one. We won't have all their names. Normally we have names on them. You know, maybe we can just have 14 passes available. I'm not sure if staff can figure that one out, I think. Anything else from council that you can think of? Okay. Does, Mr. Orville, do you need a motion to set up a dinner in regards to this?
No, I think a general consensus is good.
Okay. And if we can just invite, just maybe make sure we invite Dr. Helm and whoever you see fit. Okay, Councilor Lehman.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I did talk to Jen about, because I wasn't sure how much time they were going to have, so we thought maybe, you know, Quality Falls is a short enough hike that if maybe that's one that they wanted to do, depending on how much time they had. But I mean, I know they're already going to the museum and they're doing the clinic, so they may not have enough time. But that's, and then also, I mean, the golf course will be open too, so there's options for, you know, if they're running short of things to do, those are just some of the options that we looked at.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, I think maybe Mr. Orville will be able to reach out to Dr. Helm. They're talking about setting up a list of activities and stuff and with some time slots, so I think once staff gets that back, they can even forward it back to council. Maybe some people can make themselves available if they want to do certain things or attend certain things with the individuals. That's up to them. Mayor Bertrand? I got Councilor Kirby.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. From what I understand, these are recent graduates of their programs. So they will be entering the field this year. So it is an excellent opportunity to showcase Tumbler Ridge. And from what I understand, the next day on the 20th, I believe, teachers are coming as well. So it's kind of a back-to-back, medical professionals to start and then teachers afterwards. So definitely a good opportunity. And just another suggestion, I thought maybe a tour of our community center has a lot of our community history in it. You know, a tour with mayor and council to try to explain some of the history in the community center and showcase our community center the best in peace. So that was a possibility as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm on the email with Dr. Helm, so I'll throw him some ideas too. Councilor Kirby.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. These presenters are coming to our school to talk to our kids and you know, get them to choose healthcare as a career. So do we have information to give forward to the students as well as what we do for scholarships, etc., through even the PRD and our own scholarships just to go along with that? Or is that, do we have anybody from our committee that could hand out, or do we have a handout that we could give to the students at this as well? Just what we do?
Ms. Torva? I don't believe we have a handout. I don't want to put it back to staff, but
No, I'm not aware of a handout at this point.
Does the committee, the healthcare committee have something?
no, we've never worked on anything like that. No direction on that part of it. That would be, like, we don't do the scholarships to the committee and everything else. That's done through, that was just brought forward through staff.
Okay.
Right, how they're gonna come forward and we will help select it and stuff like that, so. I think it's a great idea to look at, but I think there's some other ideas, and again, I thank you very much for getting the email.
Yeah.
It was a fairly quick meeting, but the discussion, we didn't know the numbers, so there was hard to discuss it at the meeting on what ideas we could throw out there, so that's why Dr. Helm took the lead and stuff, so. But I think that's a good idea to get involved in a pamphlet or something. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In regards to scholarships, I believe the high school handles that, Mrs. Hill.
Yeah.
I know that she's reached out to find out what's still out there so she can represent that information back to her students. I did try to check the website, and so it does seem like there is a resource for our students in what's out there and what's available in terms of scholarships, so I'm sure it was there.
Okay, any more councilors' business? Okay, question and answer period. Ms. Torville, any questions?
There's no questions.
Okay. Resolution to close meeting. Recommendation? Council Norbert? No, you don't have it? Okay. That the meeting of the District of Tunbridge scheduled for May 2nd, 2022 be closed pursuant to the Community Charter Provision Section 91, C, E, and J. C is labor relations or other employee relations. C is the acquisition or distribution or exploration of land or improvements. If the council considers the disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality. J is information that is prohibited or information that if it was presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under Section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Seconded. Councilor Lehman. All in favor? 5-minute recess.